What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, we are talking about the New York Comic Con 2023 exclusive pops, which we have been waiting for these for quite a bit now. And it's surprising that they actually gave us the reveals at least a couple of weeks in advance before the actual convention starts in the second weekend of October. And nonetheless, there are some pretty decent pops, but there also is some meh pops, I guess. And what was so weird about this is that they didn't announce all the pops on their social media platforms. A lot of it was actually introduced by Tristan over at Top Pops, where he showed off everything on his channel. And then it was, I believe, yesterday as we were recording this, that Funko decided to do the shared retailers list instead of revealing the rest. So you got to find out what the rest were if you were only finding out on social media through the shared retailers list. But nonetheless, we're actually going to be doing these one by one and discussing about them exactly the way that Tristan did it on his channel. So that's how I'm going to start this. So the first exclusive that was announced over on Tristan's channel is a pop of Owlbear from the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves movie, which is going to be shared with Barnes & Noble and Books A Million in the US, but it will be shared with Indigo here in Canada. This pop is pretty cool. I like the idea that they made Owlbear here because Owlbear is white in the movie, unlike the game where it's just the brown fur. And it also is very uniquely different compared to the NFT pop, considering that obviously it's brown fur, this is white fur. But I do feel, like I mentioned in the New York Comic Con video that I did end up doing earlier this week on the channel, that there was definitely a missed opportunity of making this pop flocked. And I think this would have been a little bit better if that was the case. But nonetheless, still cool to see some Dungeons & Dragons pops for Comic-Con, whether it is the movie or for the game.
Yeah, it is nice to see D&D pops. Unfortunately, it is a character that we've technically already seen with the original Owlbear for the NFT set, but I get this is for the movie, so it is like a different character. They are different when it comes to terms as the movie or the actual game itself. But I do think that this pop looks good, but it definitely should have been flocked. That would have advanced this a lot more and made it feel more like a con pop.
The next pop that was showing off is Spengler's Spirit from the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie, which this pop is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And what's so weird about this pop is that it's weird to see Ghostbusters Afterlife pops still being produced pretty much, I want to say 1 or 2 years after the movie was done. I felt like this pop should have been made a little bit sooner. Of course, you know, Funko will say, oh, it was because of delays, whether it's pandemic or whatever. This is kind of a little bit long overdue in the sense of like, how many people really care about this anymore? Like, is there still people like, oh my God, yes, we're finally getting this Spengler Spirit pop. To me, it looks pretty decent because it looks like the entire pop, whether it is the outfit, the face, and the hair, has a translucent feel to it. So I do like that. But nonetheless, I don't know. I don't seem interested because it's a movie that isn't really relevant nowadays, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, surprisingly, I've never actually seen the movie. I think I watched maybe 5 minutes of it as I kind of glanced past it. But this pop does look sweet. It really does give like a ghostly feel to the character. And I think that makes sense for what it's trying to do. I'm going to have to watch the movie and see if this is going to be a pop that I want to add to my collection because I do collect Ghostbusters pops.
And the next pop showing off here that wasn't actually showing off on social media, and that was the same thing with the Spengler Spirit, is the Key Demon from Insidious, which this is going to be shared in the US only. Unfortunately, there's no Canadian shared retailers list yet for this pop or at all, but it's going to be a shared exclusive to both the Funko Shop and Funko's eBay website, which this pop is a banger. This is definitely, at least in my opinion, one of the highlights of New York Comic Con. And as we mentioned in like the Leaks podcast that we did a couple of weeks back, I was imagining the Key Demon to be a certain way. And unfortunately, this wasn't exactly it, but I kind of figured it was going to be this version since I believe it's based off of the newest Insidious movie. But nonetheless, the detail is absolutely amazing with the face, those red eyes, the hair, and especially it's really hard to see, especially in the photo we're looking at, but with the fingertips, it's actually in the shape of keys. So I think that's amazing. And it's so refreshing to see this pop for horror movie fans since we've never seen an Insidious pop until this point. And like I mentioned in the Leaks podcast, because this was mentioned on it, is that I'm glad that this is being made, considering that Insidious is one of my favorite horror movies. And yeah, this thing is awesome. I don't know how I feel about them wanting to share this with the eBay site, even though also you can share it on the Funko shop. And I wish this was coming to Canada, because I don't know, I could consider getting this, but I wouldn't say it's really a need.
Yeah, I think this pop looks pretty wicked when it comes to the red eyes and also the gray that they have around the eyes there to kind of give them a little bit of depth. The mouth and nose look great. And of course, the detail with the keys as the fingertips is great. I think that that's essential for this pop. But yeah, overall, this thing is really cool. And I think this one will probably do pretty well.
Next up, we have a pop of Ray Fillet from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie, which this is going to be shared with Target in the US only. Unfortunately, nothing about Canadian retailers yet, until somehow last minute we get it shared to a certain retailer, like a couple of San Diego Comic-Con pops. This is actually a pretty unique pop. I'm loving the detail. Unfortunately, I have not been able to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie yet, but this is great. I'm loving the detail of it. I'm loving that they're doing some sort of like obscure character for the movie as a Comic-Con exclusive. And Tristan even mentioned on his video, and I knew he was a part of the movie, but I didn't know who he was playing. But this is the character that Post Malone voices. So that's pretty interesting. And I think Tristan attempted saying Ray Fillet or something like that. I think it was like something that he says in the movie. But I mean, overall, this is one of those like really obscure Funko Pops that once again, I feel like is one of the highlights out of this Comic-Con. If let's say people are saying that this is like a mid New York Comic-Con compared to prior years. But yeah, that detail's cool. Very unique.
This is really cool, and I think it is the first time that we're getting a Ray Fillet pop. And I was going to mention, yeah, Post Malone is the voice of this character, which is really cool. What a stacked set of actors and actresses for this movie. I can't wait to watch it, because yeah, I haven't been able to go and watch it either. And I haven't been collecting these pops as I've seen them, but I will definitely be grabbing this one because, like I said, this is the first Ray Fillet. And as a TMNT collector, you kind of need to get a Ray Fillet pop. And this one looks great. I mean, there's a lot of detail going on with the mouth. Both of the eyes being different is really cool. And just the whole shape of the body overall as well. And I mean, a con exclusive makes so much sense.
Now moving over to the DC Comics lineup, or also known as the Heroes lineup, the first pop we're going to be looking at is Harley Quinn, and I think it's specifically titled Harley Quinn Winking for the Warner Brothers 100 set, which this will be shared with the Funko shop in the US only, unknown of whether this will or will not hit up Canadian retailers. And this is all right, I guess. I think it's to be expected to what we said on that Leaks podcast, where it's like, how are they going to pull this off to where it's going to be so spectacular? And it's kind of like what I said. So I'm not too disappointed because it's what I was expecting. I mean, the posing looks cool. And then the mallet is below there. And then just typical pink and blue hair there. I mean, the wink is kind of cool. But I mean, at this point, yeah, there's not really, I feel like at this point, going to be a Harley Quinn pop that's going to like blow my mind per se.
Yeah, I do like the pose and the wink. I think that this is actually a pretty decent pop, but at the same time, just stop making Harley Quinn pops. There's way too many at this point. I get it. There's different things like this that you can do with the pose and the wink, but it's all kind of just the same thing.
Continuing on with DC Comics, the next pop is Big Barda from Justice League, in which this is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. Once again, this is a pretty decent looking pop, and of course, Funko has been doing a lot of Justice League pops for Comic-Cons. Like I remember they did the one, I think it's Stargirl, that was like 1,500 pieces for WonderCon the one year. I don't think that was this year, but I think it was one of the prior years. And then they did like Dr. Fate for FunCon. And there's some other ones that for some reason I can't remember, but I know they've been doing a lot of Justice League Comic-Con exclusives. And I'm not sure if it was because of the hype for Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is already at least a year or two old at this point, or it's just something for like, hey, let's just keep doing this in case like it doesn't entirely sell well as a normal common or even a regular exclusive for a wave of pops. So it's better safe than sorry to do like Comic-Con exclusive Justice League pops. But this looks pretty cool, and especially it has a metallic finish, so it's a nice added touch to it.
Yeah, I think this pop looks really cool. It's unlike a lot of pops that we've seen, which is great. I don't know about this character at all, but I think the pop looks great. And being a more obscure character does make sense to be a con pop. And this is another one that I think is going to be a fan favorite from the con.
Next up, continuing on with DC Comics, and I didn't even know that was going to be a part of this lineup, is the Glow in the Dark, the Toxic Avenger, which is going to be shared with Target in the US at this moment. And this is a very unique looking pop. I remember I did research about the Toxic Avenger after we had recorded that podcast a few weeks back. And yeah, that's pretty unique. The eye levels are different, and like the skin effect with the green looks really nice. And especially adding that glow in the dark touch, like I mentioned in that New York Comic Con video earlier this week, is that it's a really nice added attention to detail and a nice touch, considering that green is one of the best colors when it comes to glow in the dark. So when you take that black light to it, I think it's going to shine up really amazingly, in my opinion. And so far, from what I'm seeing, it is one of the more hyped pops as terms to this entire convention.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of hype over this pop, and rightfully so. I think it looks great. It matches the character almost perfectly, which is nice. And making it glow in the dark is just that added touch. And like DK said with the green, I think this is going to glow very well. And it's kind of going to be a unique glow, too, in my opinion.
Next up, we have ourselves going into the Marvel lineup. It is the High Evolutionary from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which this will be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. And I think this definitely makes sense to be a Comic-Con exclusive, especially this being the main villain of the whole movie. And they basically put the details on it perfectly. Like, I don't know exactly what else they could have done to make it like so unique, unless it was like a deluxe or like a Moments, but it's hard to see in the photo we're looking at because I only took screenshots of the front view from Tristan's video, but there is the detail obviously of like the sides to where it looks like his face is being pulled, because that's kind of what the head sculpt would look like. So that's pretty decent. And there could be some more Guardians of the Galaxy pops coming down the pipeline for more conventions, because I mean, if they were to do it so much with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania recently, I'm sure they can pump up some more Guardians pops, especially the one that MD had mentioned for our predictions video. So nonetheless, I mean, still pretty cool for a Comic-Con exclusive here for Guardians 3.
This pop is really cool, and I'm surprised we haven't seen this already. Like DK said, it is the main villain, but I think that this is really interesting. I think it's done well without spoiling the movie. It is very interesting to see how like his face is like stretched back, and just the little wrinkles that they have on the sides of the head really show that. And I think that they did a great job with this. I think if I collected Guardians pops, this is one that I definitely want to have because the character was cool, and I think they did this really well.
Next up for Marvel, we have the Goblin Queen from the X-Men 97 series, in which this is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. This looks pretty cool. I really like the vibrancy of the hair and how it's like more of a reddish orangey color, which looks nice. I mean, the cape and the whole outfit with like the baby in her hand. I'm not sure what's going on because I haven't seen the X-Men. I don't remember if it's like it's promoting, because I know they're doing like a new X-Men 97 thing for Disney Plus, but I know there was an X-Men 97 thing in the past, I believe, or some sort of X-Men like related thing that people have been hyping about. So I don't know which one it's for, but this is pretty decent, but I'm not entirely sure how this will sell, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know either. I do think that it looks really great. And I don't remember this character from X-Men 97, but I also didn't watch a ton of it really, which is surprising because I love the animation style for that show. But nonetheless, yeah, I don't really remember this character at all, but I do think that this pop is really cool. Like DK said, with the vibrancy of the hair, it definitely plays off the pale skin as well as the like black attire. And the baby there, that's interesting. I wish I knew who that was, because then it would kind of give me more context to who this character is.
And lastly, for the Marvel lineup, at least here, I don't remember if there was any more Marvel pops after this. We have a pop classics of Captain America. And of course, like all the classics pops, it's supposed to be 25,000 pieces. And this would be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada, in which it is a bit surprising, but not at the same time, that this is coming to GameStop in Canada, since recently the Joker classics pop actually came to our local GameStop. So maybe we are going to be seeing the classics pops coming to GameStop, so we won't have to worry about trying to get it off the Funko Shop or on a secondary market. But as terms to the whole lineup of classics, this is once again an example of a pop that I feel it shouldn't be a part of the classics lineup. It should be reserved for pops that are literally vaulted, because I still think to this day that they make Captain America pops in this style. I do like obviously what they do with the bases and how it goes with the theme of it. You can see with like the US flag, so to speak, with the base there. But I don't know, like if you were to choose a Marvel character to be a classics pop in this case, it should have been like Ghost Rider, because that OG Ghost Rider is going up for so much. And that's an example of what they should have done. And they should have done something else that also is a like class, like maybe even the Doctor Doom from back in the day is also a spicy meatball of a pop. Like instead of making pops that are basically already continuing to be made and not vaulted yet by Funko, they should bring back vaulted pops because of the sake of also being in a tin case where the front of it is a vault. So I don't know why they chose Captain America, but I mean, the box overall looks cool with the different colors, with the gray going with the blue, red, and white.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, this didn't need to be made, but at the same time, I do think that this looks really clean. I love this. I think this is probably my favorite Captain America pop, probably ever. I think with the base and the way that the colors are and the sharp lines on this, I think it looks really cool. I kind of want to get it a little bit, but I don't think I will, mostly for the sake of, like DK mentioned, because it just doesn't need to be made. We should see characters like Doom or Ghost Rider, because yeah, we just don't need this, but it does look cool.
The next set of pops were on this leaked rumored list, and I was very uncertain about it, but now they're officially confirmed, and that is the Looney Tunes Wizarding World mashup for the Warner Brothers 100 set, in which we have ourselves Bugs Bunny Gryffindor, Lola Bunny Ravenclaw, Sylvester Slytherin, and Porky Pig Hufflepuff, all being shared with the Funko Shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And not gonna lie, I actually like how this mashup is compared to what we had talked about on that podcast a couple of weeks ago. Originally, we thought maybe it was, let's say, it's gonna be Bugs Bunny as Harry Potter, or Lola Bunny as Luna Lovegood, which I think is technically what is being based off of with the house that she's a part of. But I like the idea that it's just the Looney Tunes characters and they put them in the houses. I think that would have been a safe route so that Funko didn't have to sit down and think, what character are we going to make with what Harry Potter character it would be. So I really like that they did that. Of course, if it is going to be, let's say, Bugs Bunny as Harry Potter, it would be Gryffindor. I still think it is a missed opportunity, like I mentioned on that podcast, that it should have been a carrot as a wand and not a regular wand. I think it was perfectly done with the houses that they chose. I mean, Sylvester and Slytherin, they're basically villains, so it made sense. And then Porky Pig is a character that I didn't think they were really going to like choose for this kind of mashup, but I guess like it kind of makes sense that he's in Hufflepuff out of all the houses. But overall, I like the way that this turned out than what I initially thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence with this, but after seeing them and like hearing that it was going to be the houses, I think that it's a lot better than what we initially thought. And I'm going to have to buy these pops because Looney Tunes is definitely up there for me for my collecting. And I don't really have any Harry Potter pops, so this kind of gets two birds at once, right? Like it's kind of, I get some Harry Potter in my collection and I also get to continue growing my Looney Tunes. So I do think this is a good set. Is it the best? I don't know. It might be better than the last one we've seen with this Looney Tunes and the Warner Bros. 100 set because of just the fact that they look good. Each character makes sense for their respected houses. And yeah, this is definitely cool. 4 pops that I'm going to need to get.
Next up, we're going to be talking about some anime pops, which I mean, people get hyped as terms to anime. And this first one is a banger because it's for a set that MD and I are trying to get 100% complete sets of pretty much. And that is a new Dark Magician Girl. And this will be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US, nowhere in Canada, unfortunately, yet. Hopefully, maybe it'll show up at GameStop for some reason. This is kind of better than what I expected out of the Dark Magician Girl. I like the whole like hearts going around there, and especially the base being that same, like, I would assume it's like the circle logo that you see on the background of the actual cards for both Dark Magician Girl and Dark Magician. So I do kind of enjoy this. I still wish that we would have gotten a different dual monster even, and we'll actually talk about this on next week's podcast because it got announced, is that GameStop exclusive Cyber End Dragon for the Yu-Gi-Oh lineup. That could have been this slot for New York Comic Con, and then we could have gotten this as, let's say, a Hot Topic exclusive to go along with Dark Magician that was originally a Hot Topic exclusive. exclusive. But I mean, I kind of want to see what the actual base inside of it looks like instead of seeing the one side of it. So regardless, to make that as the base, that's pretty cool. But I don't know. Like I mentioned, I'm still going to get it though, because this is so far my first and maybe, just maybe, my only need from this con. But this is still pretty decent though.
I was a little disappointed when we heard that we were probably going to be getting a Dark Magician Girl for this con, and it felt like, yeah, like, why? We already have a Dark Magician Girl. But now, after seeing it, it is a great looking pop. I think that this is what the original one should have looked like. I think this one is superior. I think it looks a lot better. The base is cool. Of course, with the hearts, that's great. The pose is great as well. There's a little bit more going on with the hair, the way that it's kind of styled. So that's really great. Definitely a need, like DK said, because we are collecting Yu-Gi-Oh pops, and this pop is just great. It looks so good.
Next up, we have ourselves Ichigo from Bleach, which this is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. This one's all right. I think we've gotten quite a bit of Ichigo pops for Bleach, so it's not entirely like, let's say, a newer character like we've been getting a few times for Comic-Cons, or at least I think we've been getting newer characters. I haven't seen Bleach, so I can't really or really focus on the lineup, so I don't know like what's been made and what hasn't been made, but I know there's been a lot of Ichigos because I think he is the main character of Bleach. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's all right with the weapon in his hand, but I think we've gotten better if memory serves me correctly, though.
Yeah, I feel like you're right about that, but I do like the pose of this pop. I think it overall does look really good, but yeah, I feel like we've gotten a lot better.
So the next pop we're going to be looking at is a 2-pack from Demon Slayer, and it is Makomo and Sabito, which this is going to be shared with Box Lunch in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And this is all right. When I originally heard about this, I thought it was 2 new characters that haven't been made into pop form. But then some people mentioned on social media, like, oh, I can just get the common pops. And then I just recently did a pop hunt and seen the common pops of both of these, and they look not entirely different from the original ones. I think they are literally the same molding as the original ones, except they have the masks on either on the side of the head or on the face, which, I mean, the Sabito actually is the exact same molding with the exact same colorway as the common, except it has a mask on instead of unmasked like the common. So I don't know. Now, as I look at this and see people's comments, I do think that this was a bit lazy, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit lazy, but at the same time, I do think that both of these pops look great. But it kind of does feel the same. Demon Slayer pops, it seems like we do get a lot of the same stuff repetitively. But I mean, it's good stuff at least, so you can't really hate on it too much.
Next up, we have 2 brand new pops from Inuyasha. First, we have ourselves Inuyasha, which is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US. And then we have a Shippo on Horse Pop Deluxe, which is going to be shared with Hot Topic. These pops are pretty cool. I like the way that Inuyasha looks here. And I don't remember, like, have we gotten Inuyasha with black hair before? Because I remember the ones with obviously like the white or the blonde hair, but I can't remember if we've gotten one with the black hair. Pretty cool. And especially the Shippo on Horse is actually a pretty cool pop because it is 2, like, I guess, tiny figures made into one, so that it's a bit worth buying. But because this is more of a, I believe, deluxe, then it might not be entirely worth like getting it right away. But at the same time, it does look cool. I just wish they kind of pulled this off with like what they did with, let's say, like the Deadpool on Scooter, where it was like a 4-inch pop, but it still was more of like a rise. Regardless, I mean, Inuyasha, it's underrated. It deserves more pops at this moment than, let's say, even the Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball, or My Hero.
The first thing that I thought about when seeing this announcement is, yeah, I believe this is the first black hair Inuyasha, and I'm surprised it's taken this long because this looks great. It's cool to see now we have like both variations as well as like the evil Inuyasha. So that's really cool. I think that pop is looking good and makes sense to be a con pop. And then Shippo on the horse, this is great as well. I think that Shippo looks amazing with this pop, and it brings back memories of watching the show, which is really awesome. Kind of gives me that nostalgic feel. And then, yeah, overall, making these 2 characters into one pop makes a lot of sense. The base looks cool, so that it is kind of having like that effect of it's in the air, not actually on the ground. And yeah, I think both of these pops are definitely great.
Next up, we have ourselves a Diamond Collection Might Guy Inner 8 Skate or something like that. I don't remember the name. From Naruto Shippuden, which will be part of a pop and bag bundle and will be shared with the Funko shop in the US. And it doesn't specify it, but most likely this will be a limited piece count of probably 3,000 or 4,000 pieces, like the other pop and bag bundles since the dawn of time. And I mean, the bag looks pretty cool. I love the vibrancy of those fiery colors. And I mean, it's to be expected that they won't make like a brand new pop to be a pop and bag. It's just a specification of an already existing pop. And I feel Diamond Collection on this one is iffy. If it was glow in the dark, which I think they already did though, so that's why they didn't do it this time, would have been way better. But I don't know. I feel like you could have done even a character that makes sense glow in the dark that they haven't done yet and make a pop and bag bundle out of that instead of this. But I'm not sure how many people will be buying this, even though it is anime and it seems to pretty much almost sell out all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessary, especially with the Diamond Collection aspect to it. I mean, does this character need to be a Diamond Collection pop? Not really. But I do think the bag looks cool, and it's nice that it matches the pop almost identically, which is great. Loungefly always kills it with the bags. But this pop, I think the pop is great. But again, it just, Diamond Collection, I don't know. It's not doing it for me with this one.
And what seems to be the last anime pop we're going to be talking about, and probably a lot of people's favorite anime pops for this convention, it is the Monkey D. Luffy Pop Wanted poster from One Piece, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. I actually enjoyed this pop, even though it is a wanted poster and it's just like a pop, and then you put the poster behind it. I do like how, of course, what MD and I enjoy about these kinds of pops is that it matches exactly what's going on the cover, where Luffy is holding his hand out. But I think the biggest gripe and biggest missed opportunity, and a lot of people pointed this out, where the is the mouth? Because I think that would have put this pop over the top with this. And we've seen anime pops with mouths before, so I don't know why they didn't do it here, at least this one time with the Monkey D. Luffy. But I still think it is a pretty cool pop for this convention.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first thing I thought of too. Like in the wanted poster, he has the hugest smile. Why did they not sculpt the head differently to have the smile on there, or even using the same sculpt of the head and just throwing a smile on there, just painted on? It would definitely have made this pop a lot better, but this pop is great. I think it looks cool. It matches for the most part with the closed eyes. Even the hair almost matches perfectly with what you see on the poster itself. And I mean, it's Luffy. This is awesome. I think it's going to sell very, very well. It will probably sell the best out of all the wanted posters we've seen so far, but I think that this wanted poster thing is great. I think that if you have the whole collection of them, putting them side by side is going to look amazing on any display shelf.
Next up, we have ourselves No Heart with Book from Care Bears, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And like I mentioned on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, this is a great idea. I think it's the first pop in the Care Bears lineup that isn't a Care Bear, and that is something unique, and especially for a Comic-Con exclusive. I mean, all the colors with like the purple, the lighter green, almost aqua-y, like the red, looks cool. And then you have like the face that's coming out of the book. Like this is, I feel like, one of those pops that I think a lot of people are going to be sleeping on, but I think it's super highly underrated and one of the, like, I don't want to say if it's like top 5, but maybe top 10 best of this convention.
Yeah, I think that this is amazing. I thought for sure this is exactly how great it was going to be, and it is cool. I kind of wish it was glow in the dark, but it doesn't need to be. I think it's good for what it is, and it definitely advances the Care Bears lineup. We've been getting just Care Bears, of course, and now we have the main, like, antagonist, which is great to see. And I hope that they go from here and they start making more Care Bears pops. I would like to see like the cousins, I think they're called, where you have like the elephant and the lion and those other animals. I think that that would be great, and it would make the Care Bears lineup even better than it already was, because people loved the lineup itself. But now that we're getting characters like this, that is just so cool. And again, this is a perfect example of a fitting pop to be at a con.
Next up, we have ourselves Indiana Jones with snakes from, of course, Indiana Jones. I believe it is the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And this is actually a pop that is better than I thought it was going to be. And I think it's because of how they incorporated the base involved with this. It gives it that deluxe feel, but it is the 4-inch pop. He's got the torches in one hand and like multiple on the floor. There's the snakes that are around it. It's hard to see, but there's actually 3 snakes surrounding him, one on each side and then one right in front of them. And then they added the sand on top of it. So they really incorporated this pop very nicely with the detail. And yeah, it definitely is one of those pops that really exceeded my expectations from when I first heard about it.
Yeah, this pop is great. I think that the way that they did the snakes is really cool. My only gripe about it is that they made one of the best pops ever with the Indiana Jones that we've seen with the Boulder Escape. So any other Indiana Jones pop that we see is just not going to live up to that hype, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, like that Boulder Escape pop was honestly one of the best pops I think we've seen ever. So yeah, I don't know. This is a great pop, but Indiana Jones is never going to top that Boulder Escape.
And continuing on the theme of Lucasfilms, it's Star Wars The Clone Wars with Darth Maul, and it's going to be shared with Target in the US and Indigo here in Canada. And we kind of brought up the idea on that podcast about like what we thought it was going to be. And I mean, it's kind of in that between of like, this could have been much better, but it also could have been much worse of a pop. And I do like, obviously, they kept with the theme that we wanted of cybernetic legs, but I wish we would have gotten those huge spider legs from when you first see him in the Clone Wars, and then the horns are just so massive. But nonetheless, I mean, regardless, Funko usually kills it with Darth Maul pops anyway, so you can't really, for the most part, be let down with the Darth Maul pop. It's still a pretty decent pop, though, for this convention.
This pop is really great. And yeah, we did want to see the big spider legs with the huge horns, but this is one step closer. And I think that this pop is really cool. I like the way everything looks. The facial expression looks really awesome. It's menacing. That's what you need. The pose itself isn't too crazy, but it doesn't need to be. And then those legs are pretty wicked. It's not exactly what we're looking for, but DK hit the nail on the head by saying it could have been a lot worse. We wanted better, but it's definitely could have been a lot worse.
Next up, we have a new Garfield, and it's more of a Halloween theme, in which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And I'm kind of liking the fact that they made this Garfield Halloween themed, considering there were a couple of ideas like, okay, could it be Garfield with lasagna? Which I feel like if they were to do that, they might as well do that as a regular comment, because when you think of Garfield, you think of lasagna. And then I thought of the beach theme, but I knew for a fact that it wasn't going to happen here because we're way past summer at this point. We're basically entering the fall at this point. I think today or tomorrow, as we're recording this, is the first day of fall anyway. So when this gets released, it will be fall regardless. And this is really cool. He's got the whole cauldron. There's a fire base underneath it. He's wearing like a witch hat. But yeah, pretty cool as terms to a Garfield pop being released around the time of Halloween.
Yeah, I think that this is perfect. I mean, Halloween's right around the corner, and I think this is the best way to go about it. I mean, it's Halloween themed, of course. I think it looks good. The pose is cool with the cauldron. The hat is cool as well. But like, I don't necessarily think we needed another just regular Garfield. We've seen a couple different Garfields already. We've had Odie as well as a pop. So yeah, I think that this is the best way to go about this right now until we absolutely need another Garfield, is to just do a themed one for a holiday. And with Halloween being right around the corner, this just makes so much sense.
All right, so the next pop we're going to be talking about is the McNugget with Pails from McDonald's, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And when I first heard about this, I was a little iffy. I feel like a lot of people are a little iffy because there's only a certain amount of people, including MD Shady, that like the McNuggets pops overall. But after seeing this reveal and what it looks like, this is a pretty big banger when it comes to the McNugget pops. Not gonna lie, like the whole idea of the McNugget dressed up as Frankenstein, that you have the 3 different colored pails that they usually give out during Halloween. So it might actually be overall ending up being like the biggest McNugget pop that they have done, because of course the McNugget pops are tiny. You can't really make them entirely huge. It's even smaller, I believe, than the Pokemon pops. So this is actually a pretty great McNugget pop. And that's from me saying this, considering that a lot of times I'm not a fan of the McNugget pops.
This is nostalgia in a box. I mean, this is so great. Exactly what I wanted out of this pop when I heard we were going to be getting the like Halloween pails, and they look so good. I have both the pumpkin or jack-o'-lantern one as well as the witch. I don't have the ghost, I don't think, though. So they look exactly like they're supposed to, which is great, especially for being just tiny little molded things that come with this McNugget. The McNugget himself looks amazing. The blue eyes is really cool, and the body with the hands is really cool. The headpiece is great. I need to get my hands on this pop. This is probably my biggest need from this con thus far.
Next up for the television lineup, we have Geordi La Forge from Star Trek, in which this is going to be shared with FYE in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And this isn't too bad of a figure. I mean, I do like the idea also that they are adding the chair with it to make it more of a deluxe. But of course, you're only going to be charged for the 4-inch price.
Yeah, this pop is great. Of course, he is the actor who is in Reading Rainbow, and they nailed this one. I think it looks really cool. I'm surprised we haven't got this already in another Star Trek lineup, but yeah, it's great that you get the chair in there. It's just more bang for your buck, and that's great when it comes to a pop.
Next up, we have ourselves the, I guess I'm going to call it New York Comic Con mascots, both Paulie Pigeon and Pizza Rat, which both of these will be shared on the Reed Pop website, which for those that might not know, Reed Pop is the organization that actually runs New York Comic Con, and they also run Emerald City Comic Con. I don't think they run WonderCon because that's run by the same people as San Diego, which is a different organization. But nonetheless, we always get Paulie Pigeon and Pizza Rat Pops every year since I believe 2019. So it was kind of expected that we were going to get this, but what was the colorway going to be this year? And with the Paulie Pigeon, I had no idea what the colorway was based off of, because normally it's based off of a New York sports team. And I think now someone commented on a recent video and said it was like WNBA and it's like these colors. So I think that's what it's based off of. And then the Pizza Rat is creepy as and I guess that's to be expected since we are right around the corner from Halloween at this point. So it gives off that theme. The colors do kind of pop up very well when you have the red eyes and the all purple hat. And then the pizza spelling out NYCC like usual. And now it looks like it's pepperoni and green pepper or spinach. I'm not entirely sure. So I do like when they make the pizza kind of different version every year. And then the skin tone, I don't know. It's very creepy, but I guess it's cool at the same time, though.
Yeah, the Paulie Pigeon, I don't know the team, so it probably is WNBA or something like that. But I do think the colors look good for that one. And then the Pizza Rat, probably my favorite Pizza Rat we've seen. Black rat with red eyes. How could I not think of that being a possibility? Because that is kind of those like weird little like dungeon rats you'll see. Purple beanie. Awesome. And then the green peppers and pepperoni. I think that it looks really cool, especially when it comes to the C's, and NYCC looks just like when you cut a pepper. So that's perfect. This pop is great. And of course, the pink really stands out because of the black fur. If I end up adding a Pizza Rat to my collection, it definitely will be this one.
Next up, we have ourselves what's called the Heavy Metal Mascots, Funko's own creation, in which all of these are going to be glow-in-the-dark, metallic, and limited to 1,000 pieces. So the characters listed here, we have ourselves Rusty Steele, Jack Carver, Sid Vicious, and Phil D. Graves. And these are some excellent pops, like not gonna lie. Normally, I'm not really a fan of course, Funko-made mascot pops, especially people know my hatred in terms to Freddy Funko for the most part, but these look awesome in the way they kind of pulled them off, like Rusty Steele in the first non-glow-in-the-dark photo I'm looking at with the eyes looks cool. Sid Vicious, great name, and it really pops out nice. The glow-in-the-dark aspect's gonna look good with the green. Jack Carver is also really cool. You got like the spoon with like pumpkin guts and seeds, and then you also have drumsticks on fire. Like this thing is going to look great also, trick or treat shirt. And then that Phil D. Graves is so awesome. You got like those classic microphones, like it's in the shape of a Funko Pop skull, and then you have like the ring around it. And then especially also how the guitar is in the shape of a shovel. Like God, whoever was in charge of making these specific pops, and hopefully like it wasn't one of the people that got let go, because this is the case of if it was those people, you need to hire them back. And if it's someone that's currently on there, they need a damn pay raise, because these things are absolutely awesome. 1,000 pieces. Oh, these are great. Like I wish these weren't 1,000 pieces, because I would love to get at least one or maybe all of them.
Yeah, this is kind of awesome. I mean, these are sweet. The names are wicked as well. I mean, Sid Fish is hilarious. Filthy Graves is also hilarious, especially when it goes with like the graveyard Undertaker kind of vibe, and just so cool. This is an amazing set. The molding looks great. The attention to detail is amazing. I also wish these weren't 1,000 pieces because I kind of want to get these, and unfortunately it might be that case of 4 new grails that I have to search for, which is not good because I already have enough grails that I'm currently searching for. But yeah, these are just wicked. It's awesome when you can get original Funko characters that are just truly amazing and not just stuff that nobody wants to see. These have a theme. They're coming out at the perfect time, I feel, with Halloween right around the corner, and just so cool. This is amazing.
And then the last set of pops that were revealed for New York Comic Con this year are new Freddy Funko Pops, and they are called Freddy Bones. Freddy Bones, the regular one, is going to be shared with the Funko shop, but the other one will be con only, limited to 1,000 pieces, and it's a black light pop. These are also pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like I mentioned about me not being the biggest fan of most Freddy Funko Pops, these look awesome. The regular one is cool in the way the color is, but that black light one is amazing. Holy shit. Like, this is awesome. I want to see how those colors look under a black light, because I feel like the pink and the green will be awesome. And especially, of course, the mask that he's wearing on the side of the head is also a black light effect. So they did an excellent job with these pops. And I mean, if I were to get that black light one, that would be really awesome, but seems to be highly unlikely. But that's a pretty banger way to kind of end off New York Comic Con.
Yeah, these 2 Freddy Funkos might be 2 of the best Freddy Funkos we've seen in a long time. I think they look so good, and I think it's hilarious that he has a mask of Freddy Funko himself, and it's also kind of like the stylization of the way that Funko does their actual pop masks that used to be produced. I don't know if they're still doing those or not. I think there was only a select like amount of different characters that were done, but it's exactly what that is, and it's so cool. Probably, maybe might be necessary for my collection to get one of these. I would probably go with the normal one. The blacklight one is awesome, but I do love the white skull and having the normal Freddy mask. I think that idea is just so cool. Kudos to Funko. This is done brilliantly.
Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this week's edition of a Funko Podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you're planning on getting for New York Comic Con 2023 exclusives. And we hope to see you guys next week for our top 10 Funko Pops of September 2023 podcast, which may feature quite a bit of these pops talked about today. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
That's all, folks. Peace in, peace out.